Flavor.
What this is a first generation automatic transmission. This was called by Ford the Ford-o-Matic transmission. It is a planetary gear set, meaning that there's a central shaft, there's an input shaft, there's an output shaft. They're not connected, they're separate right about here. And there's a gear reduction between the planetary gear sets, which gives it a low range, a high range, and a reverse. Reverse is typically in the back. Okay. Anywho, so this is, like I said, it's an automatic transmission. The actual transmission body, where all the business happens, is right here.
That's the business end.
That's the business end, right here.
Was that like in the 51 Ford transmission they got?
Yeah. Oh, this would have been, 51 Ford, first generation would have been a Ford-o-Matic.
Probably
Now-
cast iron.
That
An
would have
iron
been
one.
exactly. I was just going to say that. Not only would it be cast iron, but there was a bell housing, a transmission, and a tail shaft. This has a combined body, which is the bell housing, the body, and then a separate tail shaft. This is actually minutia. This is sand cast. This is pressure cast. Little thing. But we have no idea at all.
Are we gonna open it up?
Well, yeah.
I wanna see
We have
this
no
thing.
idea. I'm just spinning it here. The way these things work. Let's get this out of the way. Thank you.
What is that? Is that a vent tube?
That's the breather for the transmission because the oil expands. When you look at the dipstick, you'll see the level cold and the level hot. That's the expansion of the fluid. Where was I going with this? When this is built, everything is loaded in through the front here. Actually, this is the wrong way now. I thought I was going to have to drain this.
Hold on.
No, I'll just double check to see if I can drain it. There's nothing really going on there. We're okay. So what we'll do now, since we know we can flip it,
He-Man Chuck.
I can't believe that I would hold one of these up to try to bolt it in from back in the day.
You weren't 62, man.
Oh, shush.
Everyone's like.
I'm looking for labor-saving devices.
Yeah, we have all these bodies here that can do it.
Oh, does somebody want to take the pan off?
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
Phoebes?
Who wants to do it?
I'm an idiot.
Buy the feed.
Bye bye.
Bye, Phoebes.
Why are you leaving me?
Yeah, we can have people do it.
I'm a distraction.
Yes.
Certainly.
You are my kind of distraction. So,
Okay, see you later.
all right.
We'll
bye.
see ya.
Thanks for the cake.
Yeah. Yeah, let's have the class tear it down.
Yeah, they have to plaster it. Who's gonna do it? Who wants to do it?
Who's up? Yeah.
I can see his itching over here.
So we're gonna
Go
do the
to
pan.
it. Remember, this is an unknown transmission. What that means is there might be a mouse nest in here. There might even be a mouse nest. There might be some liquid.
There might just be rust and crust and crud. Who
Now,
knows?
on the plus side, there's not much lost if we break something.
You might need a cloth for this.
Oh, hey,
This is why I have extras. This is why I have 3 muncies. Because if I break one, I can break another one, and then break another one, and then a bush bug. I've never broken more than one.
Are they coming off?
Yeah, so far.
There we go.
oh, I forgot about this part of the class.
Yeah, we haven't done this in a while.
Eat cake.
Don't worry, we're not watching you.
It's fine. It's not going anywhere. You might want maybe grab like a flathead.
And a mallet.
Really
Stick that in there and just.
What happens is you end up
There you
with
go.
an additional. There
Got a
was
rag?
liquid in it.
Rag. Rag.
It's right behind you.
Thanks. I'll tear it off eventually.
Yeah.
There we go.
So a short converter. I think I threw my other half out.
No, your other half just left. You throw her out. She saw herself out the door.
Proving once again she's smarter than I am.
Okay, the heart has been removed.
There we go.
Wow.
It's a very intriguing looking filter.
Is that a filter?
Yep.
Right here.
This is super simple.
What's the metal filter? Is there? Okay.
Probably just a
What's
screen,
inside there?
fine screen.
Yeah, usually just mesh.
So that big spring clip is probably what's holding it on there, that big black thing.
Yep, pop that off. Go ahead. Don't be afraid.
What, with the spring?
The big spring clip. The big spring clip here.
Oh, okay.
Give it a little. There should be a tab. Oh, the tab's on the other side over here. Slide it over there and just go bing. There you go.
Split out of?
There you go. Now pull it off. There's your filter.
That's the filter?
There's your filter.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Doesn't. Yeah, let's actually talk about this for a second, before we get too far into this. If I'm pulling up something apart like this, never been there before. I
look
want
at
to
that.
assess. I want the parts to tell me a story. Right? I'm interested in stories. Now, some stories are very boring,
Chuck's going deep.
and then some are epic dramas. We've all had both. Anyway, so I want to look at the condition of whatever fluid's in it. And the,
Pretty thick.
it's pretty thick, but it's probably because it's evaporated. But what's interesting here is the bottom of the
Critters.
pan is fairly clean.
Critters.
Right?
Are they sludgy? It's not sludgy?
Got some critters.
Yeah, do have one bug in there, and then we've got a little bit of sludge right there. Over here's a magnet. Is this one bonded? Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
And there's nothing on it. So,
What does that do?
Oh, is that to pick up the metal?
It picks up filings.
yes, it picks up the metal shavings.
So
Right,
they don't keep.
So they'll come up the work.
I didn't know that.
right.
So grinding the gears, that's
So
what
we learned one
happens.
thing tonight.
Well, there really aren't any, I mean, there are gears in here, but really the only thing there, and the way you shift one of these, and it's really super simple, is there's a pair of servo motors and accumulators. And then there's some valving in here. That's what these little guys are, right? I've got a valve here. Might have one here. I've got a valve here, here,
There
here,
for sure.
and here. So I've got 4 valves. And those 4 valves control when the bands, which are located here and here, where'd the other one go? Right in here somewhere, I can't feel it, can't see it. Up in there. And they just, by engaging this band, it sends power either in high or low. That's what these two things do. And they shift it from low to high.
And or reverse.
And that too.
So the gears in this transmission are planetary gears. The gears are always engaged with each other. They're always, you're not going in and out between the teeth. You're just holding a member, a part of that, or a different part of it to get your different gear ratios. So the gears are constantly in mesh.
Now, I don't know on this transmission whether you have to pull these caps before you can access the valve body I don't remember how these go. I think, I'm pretty sure the valve body will just come off.
Oh, who wants to pull the valve body?
Well, let's just wait a second before we do that, because this is a band adjustment right here.
Is if you throw it park while you're still rolling,
Oh, yeah, I've done that.
because that
Yeah.
lever engages teeth.
We don't really break, what's interesting is you don't really break this. You might break the parking pawl.
Right.
You might actually put a hole in the case, because the parking pawl is going to be back
Does
here.
that mean parking becomes neutral? Like you break it off?
Well,
Yeah.
this is an interesting point. An early automatic transmission doesn't have park.
Oh, it's just emergency brake? My car didn't have park.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. An
When I
early
put it in
car.
reverse, there's reverse. When you put it in reverse, there's a pawl that keeps it from moving. So when you stop the car, turn it off, put the emergency brake, keep your foot on the regular brake, and slide it over to reverse, and that way it won't roll or move. But if it's idling, it has to be in neutral. So you got to make sure you properly set your emergency brake. Otherwise, it could be a disaster.
This is called an event.
An event.
It's one of their events. Yeah, that'll work.
A concerning moment.
There we go. So let's try, now, one thing we got to look at here when we take this apart, you're taking something apart for the first time, you don't quite understand how it goes together, spend a lot of time looking at it. And what we can see is this is one of those accumulators we were talking about, and then there's another one over here. This one appears to be cast into the body, as does this one. So this should come off. There doesn't appear to be anything, this shaft right here does not appear to be connected to anything, and the band adjustment is internal. This one has an external band adjustment, so this is probably low reverse and this is high. And this has a spring associated with it. Yeah, you want to take a look at, are you going to be releasing spring pressure, doing something strange here? We might actually end up releasing spring pressure on this. But it's not a heavy duty spring, so it shouldn't be horrifically bad.
Okay, who's
All right, so who's doing it?
So who's okay with it shouldn't be horrifically bad? Everybody's took a step back.
How about the new guy?
What about the shift shaft?
Put the
new guy?
I'll do it.
What about
Right,
the shift
yeah,
shaft?
Paul did it. Paul said okay.
This is actually held
Let's
in
have a
place.
loser
When
member.
this drops out, it's just going to
All
drop
right.
out.
It's gonna come free.
Yeah. All right. Very quickly before you take it apart. Now, as you're steeling your nerves for this event, let me just point out that the way this whole system works is through a hydraulic pump. So the hydraulic pump generates pressure, which is then managed by the valve body to actuate these two accumulators that will compress the bands and lock the thing up. So, for what it's worth, this is the pickup. When we pulled this off, this is the suction of the pump, which then goes into this. The pump's actually in this iron body right here,
And driven by the torque converter.
and it's driven exactly. It's driven by the torque converter. This is when you got if you try to drive or pull one of these in neutral, you'll be spinning the gears at high speed, and you won't have any oil to them because the pump wasn't spinning. And that's how a transmission fails if you're flat towing a car that wasn't rated for it with an automatic transmission. Anyway, so that's the suction, and have at it, and we'll see. I'll be right there behind you.
Okay, so am I trying to get that off there?
Well, no, we're actually
All these
going to
bolts.
unbolt, and there'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts,
Okay, so
and we'll see what
I
happens.
think it's gonna slide out.
I don't know. Nothing
go.
really should happen. What I try to do is buzz, get them loose.
There you go.
Don't take them out all the way. Just leave them in loose. Yeah. There you go.
often there's check balls in there
There's
too,
another
in
one there,
between the.
Paul, there's a third one.
Yeah, you gotta get that. This guy right here.
Yeah, which is, we should have this thing flat when we
On its
lift it.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the check, the problem is it should be this way if there's check balls.
Damn it.
Go ahead, just keep going.
There it goes.
Yeah, with a ratchet like this, you just put it on there and you pull the trigger until the bolt breaks free. Like that.
There we go.
Is that kind of like a hammer drill?
Yeah, kind of. It's actually an impact driver.
I should think that bottom bolt is holding the spring,
No, there's no tension on any of these right now. No, not
but I think
really.
it's holding the bracket that's holding the spring in place.
Well, I don't know. That's why I wanted to loosen it up and then
Oh,
just,
there we go.
It'll come out.
look at that. It's just gonna slide right out. Go ahead and take
Take
it
the
out.
bolts out.
So just take out the rest of the bolts? or-
Yeah,
Take those 6 out all the way.
looks like that.
There you go. Just pull it out.
Looked like he was gonna blow over here.
Well, it sounded like somebody was like, whispering sweet nothings in my
You gotta
ears.
share it with the class now.
Well, now I know that. There you go. I was cautiously optimistic for a minute.
Ooh, there we go.
Those are cute little bolts.
Do you want to touch them?
Do they have balls on them?
No, balls are
You have
inside.
this thing for bolts?
These bolts have never seen the light
Those are
of
cap
day
screws.
since 1956.
That's right.
Well, I don't know about that. When you remember when I said go ahead, take that one out too. There you go.
There's a big one out.
There it comes.
Oh,
Look at that.
That's
Whoa.
It was containerized. That's
Yeah.
really wild.
So what is this piece here?
This is called a valve body, and there's valves in here. They're behind this plate, this plate, this plate, and this plate.
And that's where all the fluid travels through?
Well, the fluid travels there. This is the brain of the transmission.
Oh.
That's what this is a hydraulic brain.
Mm-hmm.
Now, somebody's been in there cleaning that pan, but the valve body, again, this is that forensic stuff. I'm looking at this, and this has a level of mud on it, which indicates that the pan was dropped and cleaned, which indicates regular service. And but they didn't take the valve body off. So this transmission probably has not been rebuilt.
and that gray schmutz is just
Now,
clutch
does this have
material.
like a filter in the transmission?
Yes, it's right here.
It's right there.
So the filter, this filter is right here, and it's got an inlet and a baffle, and this goes on right here. Actually, this
Under the
is
spring.
Under the spring.
Now, would that be replaced with servicing, or would they just clean it?
This one they would just clean.
This one, what he said. You can still buy this one, and sometimes you'll get a paper element, and sometimes you'll get a screen. Nowadays, a brass screen's really rare, so you don't get that.
So yeah, you could just clean that out with a solvent or
We like brass
Right.
screens.
They're pretty,
super fine mesh.
and they're shiny. And it's not bad. There's a little bit of stuff in here. Now, in this case, because it is a 1960 and it's a cleanable one, I just stick it in here and let it run for a while. Let the ultrasonic cleaner turn it back into something that looks really pretty and new.
So the torque converters are in there?
Nope, torque converter's right here.
Huh.
So the torque converter has a static section, which is here. This doesn't turn. And then it has a section here which rotates. And this is the part that's coupled to the transmission. And then on the outer torus, or ring, if you wish, like a donut, that connects to the flex plate. No, not the bolt. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's how that works. Think of a pair of fans in a ball, and the fan on this side spins really fast, and it causes this one to move. It's a little bit more complicated with that because there's actually variable pitch vane torque converters. There are multiple stage torque converters, and they have different torque multiplication ratios. But what it gives a standard fluid coupling is what I've been describing. A torque converter will actually speed up the fluid and cause it, even though this one moves slowly, it moves with high torque. So you get torque multiplication of roughly 2 to 1.
Now, like
On
a
average.
torque converter, like there's a fan, another fan, and it spins, and it causes the fluid to move, which makes the second fan
Yes,
move. And that's why you don't get the jarring shifts like in Dynaflows compared to like Hydromatic. What's the difference between the torque converter and a fluid coupling?
Okay, a fluid coupling is the same basic premise. That you were getting that bang actually had to do with something else altogether.
I mean, like I get a big bang between second and third.
Right, and that's because at that point you're not coupling and decoupling, and so that you're in one. Like here, this is like reverse low, and this is low high. I think it is something like that. It should be. So what this does is when you're engaging and disengaging bands, it's fairly smooth. But when you have to shift from one planet set, because a dual range Hydromatic has 4 speeds, really cool and advanced, and it's a shame that they don't make them, or they make something altogether different. What they did with the dual range Hydromatic is they had a really short first gear, and then it was 1-to-1 was the last gear, 4th gear. And then they would put a really tall rear end ratio in the car, and it was like running overdrive with the transmission in the car. You know, with a 4-speed transmission and a 1-to-1 top end.
And it seems to get the 4th gear pretty quickly, like around 35 miles an hour.
It depends on how it's adjusted. And that's where the magic is. And C&M transmission, Mark, in Cathedral City.
Can you work on those?
Yes, he's one of the few guys in the
I've been looking.
Amazing.
'Cause I don't have a kick down. Everything else works fine, but it's not
Yeah.
kicking down the way it should.
Mark at C&M.
Yep, he's the guy.
Yeah, and tell him we sent him, but yeah, he's definitely worth it. He's the guy. So anyway, so we were talking actually about the park pawl earlier. So if I turn this transmission, you can see the drums turning. You can see there's a band here and there's a band here. This transmission has 2 bands, but right there in the middle we actually see teeth. Those aren't gears. That's for park in this transmission to lock it into place. Well, I gotta look at how this one lines up. Looks like it goes this way. I don't even know if I can do it. Probably because I'm sitting on the. This is just my glasses, no big deal.
You're wearing your good ones. You're fine.
It's fine. There we go.
And now we're in park.
So what I did is I rolled it all the way forward, and there's a little cam wheel there. You know, for if you wondered how you put your car in park, that's how you do it.
And is that
So
for all
that-
transmissions up and
Pardon?
I mean
It's similar.
On every transmission that has ever had a park pawl, it's very much like this.
well, so we've always been curious because our 65 Corvair is an automatic and there is no park.
Right, because it doesn't have a park pawl.
Yeah.
So you
And
can't
that's-
even put it in reverse and it'll, like Hydromatic.
Just the emergency brake. You just have to rely on that. Yeah,
Oh, you
it
got
kind of freaks people out.
Just a neutral or emergency.
Put it in
Yeah,
neutral.
well, that's the 50, 55, 56 Chryslers, well, actually all the way up to 1961.
61, when the federal government required you have to have a park.
Right, it was just an emergency brake. They didn't have park. So from the beginning of their automatics, the Power Flights were the counterpart, the 2-speed counterpart to this, which is the Ford-o-Matic, and that's really cool.
That's really cool.
That's
Yeah,
fun to
because we're
watch.
there's an axis of motion here, then there's an axis of motion here, and then this goes through the transmission and back out. Well, no, actually that one doesn't. Never mind. Take that back. But so it goes in the transmission, and then it operates this axis, which pivots on that axis, which
Plus
is really
the linkage
wacky.
from there to your steering column, and then up to your shifter.
Yes.
Now,
So don't bend any of it.
so when you're looking.
Don't jam that stuff.
So again, a little bit of forensics here. We got it open, and we want to see what sort of story is told by this transmission. Have you ever tried to shift? Can I get another towel? You ever tried to shift a car into park too soon? Okay, if you're spinning fast enough, what happens is this pawl, which is spring-loaded, catches the edge of the transmission, or where it's supposed to land, and it jumps out, so you get that noise. And it's doing that.
Is that bad?
Well, if you look at this closely, what you'll see, this is the question,
Peter, don't break things.
yeah, Peter, I'm gonna tell the dealer on you.
I always stop fully before I put it in park.
It makes me cringe too when people are on a steep hill and they put it in park and just let their foot off the brake and let it
So-
hammer against it.
So,
They always say your emergency brake first.
remember, I'm trying to clean this, sorry, it's really dirty. If you take a close look at it,
Ooh, sleuth work.
take a close look at it, you'll see that on this side of this pawl tooth, it's got a little rounded edge, but it's sharp on this side.
Yeah.
Shows you that's what's happening.
That's exactly right. It's on more than one occasion, it was somebody found that gear. Well, you know, Grandma doesn't hear so well anymore. Eyesight's not far behind, and now what I will say is these are very robust transmissions. I had one of these in a 1964 Ford Falcon Futura hardtop pan painted silver with a brush.
Nice.
With a brush.
How many
Classy.
years did they use that? They started in 51. When was the last year?
I don't know when the last year was, but I do know that they were using power glides in the early 70s. So, but you could get two-speed transmissions in Fairlanes and Comets, and it was, you know, and those went, you know, it might have been 63, 64. Well, no, mine was a 64. Yeah, it would have been right around there, maybe 65.
And how was the Cruise-O-Matic they introduced in 58? How was that different from this here?
Cruise-O-Matic is a 3-speed transmission that starts in second. So you actually have 3 speeds to the transmission. This is a 2-speed transmission. But for whatever reason, well, actually, and I do know the reason, I should mention it. They chose at that point, because of the complaints of the dual range hydromatic, that when you go from second to third, you know, that clunk. Well, because of that, the goal in automatic transmission engineering for years wasn't efficient transmission of power, but the idea of a CVT, that you step on the gas and the car accelerates smoothly and you never feel a change of gear.
Yeah.
Well, you pretty much had that with the torque converter with like Dynaflow.
But that wasn't a torque converter, that was a fluid coupling, and it was slow as hell. People also wanted to
I
go,
think wasn't Dynaflow a torque converter? Hydromatic was the fluid coupling.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Ford didn't really subscribe to the smooth shift thing for a long time.
No,
Chuck, remember the mid-60s GM had was it the Turbo Glide or the one that had the Gur gear in it, the brake retard? You couldn't feel that transmission shift. My grandmother had one in her Biscayne.
yeah, I don't remember. There were multiple, I forget how many different iterations before they all decided the hydromatic was the way they were going to do it. You know, the turbo hydromatic 350 and 400. But there were, because you had the variable pitch vanes, there were the Slim Jims, which were just fluid couplings. There's a number of different transmission iterations in there.
And they used accumulators to soften those shifts.
Yeah, well, this has
So when you
accumulators
get-
on it.
You have a high hydraulic pressure, and that's what shifts your transmission. And if you just send it there, it's gonna hit hard, which is how the Fords, the 60s and 70s shifted. You could feel. They did have accumulators too, but not like the GM ones. On a
But to
Turbo
answer the
350 or
question,
Turbo 400,
to answer the question about the Cruise-O-Matic, the idea was start in second, and you've only got one shift to worry about making super smooth. That was the idea behind it. But it was a 3-speed transmission. But it was almost like a manual first. You had to select it.
Well, they had 2 drives, didn't they?
Yeah.
Drive 1 and drive 2.
one drive starts in second, one drive starts in first.
Right.
Or you can select low.
Or you
But
get
you can't
the
select second only.
But in the Avanti version of it, you select first and you get first and second, but you don't get third.
It's so weird.
Or you put it in second and you can start and you get first, second, and third. It's really strange.
Or dual range hydromatic, where in the super range you get first, second, and third.
Yes.
You can get fourth, but you have to go like over 75.
D1S or whatever it was, right. And then when you went to the power flights, the 2-speed version of these, in the high output engine versions, the 1-2 shift point was at 72 miles an hour.
Jesus.
So you were first, your wide open throttle, you were in first all the way up and made your high speed shift at 72. It was a beautiful thing. Anyway, where were we on this? Oh crap. Time is 7:18.
Yeah,
I'm
time.
trying to decide what should we take apart next? What do we want to look at?
Pull the pump out.
Yeah, front pump.
That's the fun thing. We need to set this off to the side.